At the beginning of COVID, I built my first gaming PC. And now, 6 years later, I think it's time to build a new one. Like anything in life, admitting something is showing signs of its age is not something we ever want to do. As much as my AM4 system with its 5900X processor and RTX 3070 GPU was an absolute beast when I built it, newer games had me realizing I wasn't able to get the performance I wanted anymore. Especially while multitasking and live streaming, I felt like I was just running into more and more performance issues every day. Now, this might not be the best time to build a PC considering the RAM crisis, as it's been called, but if you've ever done this before, you know that we're no strangers to the ever-changing pricing and availability of PC parts. 6 years ago, the hot part was graphics cards. People were buying them up like sneakers they were going to resell, and prices were crazy. But if you looked hard enough, you could still find a good deal. The same is true today, and I'm going to share with you guys exactly what I paid for each part of this build and how I managed to avoid the crazy prices on RAM right now and find some incredible deals on other parts. First though, let's get to the good stuff. For the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte X870E Aorus Elite. So far, it's been fantastic, and most importantly for me, it has 4 total M.2 slots, 3 of which are PCIe Gen 5 compatible. There are a lot of different features to pay attention to when buying a motherboard depending on your use, but overall, I would just say this is not a part you want to go light on. If the CPU is the heart of the PC, then the motherboard is like the brain. For the CPU, I went with the newly released Ryzen 9850 X3D. This chip is basically a slightly higher performance version of the 9800 X3D, which has been AMD's most popular chip in this new generation. This is my first X3D chip, and I have to say I've been blown away by the performance difference. I'm not the best one to explain the technology, but basically these chips have a small amount of RAM-like memory built directly onto the CPU that are the reason they work so well for gaming. For the storage, I'm using 2 Gen 4 M.2 drives. For the main drive, a 1TB WD Black SN850X, and a 2TB Crucial P3 Plus for extra storage. I'm not using Gen 5 M.2s because, well, I won't lie, I already had these 2 drives lying around extra. There isn't actually a huge performance difference in games when using a Gen 5 drive, and the SN850X is an extremely fast drive already with a very dependable cache for moving large files. Fear not though, I do have some tips for finding a good price on an SSD right now. As for installing this drive, I absolutely love the toolless installation most motherboards have for these now. It was a little difficult to get the top heatsink back in place, but everything just clips in, so no more screwdrivers for this part. Now for the RAM, we've got 32 GB at 6400 MHz from V-Color. This could have been the most expensive part of this build easily, but believe it or not, there are good deals on RAM. I'll show you exactly how to find those later in this video. If the huge jump in performance I'm seeing in this PC isn't entirely thanks to the processor, then it has to be this RAM because it's almost twice as fast as DDR4. Now that the motherboard is fully assembled, it's time to unbox the case. I picked the Lian Li O11 Vision Compact for that beautiful open showcase look. The case I had before this was the original O11 Mini, and that case was a real pain to build in. It also required an SFX power supply, which there are far fewer options for. If I had a recommendation when it comes to cases, I would say to go with a mid-tower size if you have the space. They're just infinitely easier to build in and come in a wider variety of designs if this one doesn't suit your liking. I've seen some people saying they're tired of the fishbowl style PC cases like this one. Personally, I like it. But if you share that sentiment, I've seen some really cool and inexpensive industrial style cases from the brand Johnsbow. I'll link them in the description for this video along with all the parts I used in this build. They definitely nailed it with this case though. Many of the pain points of building a PC come from being unable to get to those harder to reach areas, and this case disassembles almost completely. This has been an absolute pleasure to build in, even if it isn't perfect. Installing the motherboard was pretty easy, though it was heavier than I expected, and I dropped it in a little harder than I would have liked, which absolutely made my stomach drop. All of the screws were easy to access until I realized this motherboard covered one of the screws with the M.2 heatsink. I'm not really sure why anyone would design it to be this way, but thank goodness again for that toolless installation. With the motherboard in place now, the first thing to do is plug in the case connectors while they're easy to access. I also removed the hard drive bays in the back of this case to make some extra space since I won't be using them. This part can be a bit difficult depending on the stiffness of the cables in your case, but as for this case, it was pretty easy. I would of course recommend referring to your manual to make absolutely sure you match up the right connections on your motherboard. For the power supply, I picked up the ASRock SL1000G. This is a pretty basic 1000 watt power supply, but it has a native connection for the 12 volt high power cable required for newer GPUs. I also picked up these RGB cable covers to add some extra clean lighting effects to this build. I went with these cable covers instead of the Lian Li extensions because, well, one, to keep the cost of this build just a little lower, but also because I wanted to use the original PSU cables rather than extensions. In the end though, I would not recommend these cable covers. They were very stiff and difficult to work with, and I think the sharp edges of the plastic were actually damaging my cables. For the quality and extra lighting effects provided by the Lian Li controller, I would definitely recommend those if you're willing to spend a little extra. Anyway, once I got all the cables plugged in and the PSU installed in the case, all that was left to do was plug them into the motherboard. This case has some very easy and thoughtful access points to keep all your cables clean and minimally visible from the front of the case. Having all matching fans is something new for me, but oh man, is it so worth it. I picked up 3 3-packs of these Jungle Leopard Interstellar V2 fans, 2 in reverse orientation and 1 regular. These are great and really inexpensive fans. The lighting effects look bright and vibrant, and they run super quiet. They also all clip together to minimize the number of cables you have floating around your build. Thanks to the removable tray at the bottom of the case, installation is super easy, and there's no need to flip the whole build over just to access the screws. For the airflow in this build, I'm pulling air in from the bottom and the side through the radiator and pushing air out through the back with these 2 regular flow fans. For one of the more fun pieces now, we've got this Thermalright Peerless Vision 360mm AIO cooler with an almost 4-inch square screen. Am I the only one who thought years ago that RGB lighting might just be a passing trend in PCs? Turns out I was wrong, and the trend is now just to add screens on top of that. Personally, I think the screens add an awesome touch of customization to PCs that you could never get with just RGB. To keep everything looking nice and uniform, I'm going to be replacing the fans this cooler came with, and then attaching everything to the removable radiator bracket unique to this case. Not only does this bracket hide the radiator, but it also helps tidy up the cables by minimizing how much of them you see from the front of the case. It can be a bit difficult getting your cables routed from the back of the case, however, if they're extra stiff. Luckily, the screen on this cooler is removable, making it much easier to get through the specialty grommet designed for this case. For a little added flair in this build, I'm adding the Thermalright TropheoVision LCD screen in that perfect space that Lian Li left in this case. I chose to stick with Thermalright for this screen because I'm able to control both of the screens in this PC with one app, and there's a ton of praise for Thermalright right now for providing affordability but still great performing products. All you have to do to connect these screens is plug them into the USB 2.0 ports on your motherboard. Because I also stream, I'm adding the Elgato 4K Pro capture card to this build. This is actually the previous generation model card from Elgato, but I got it for only $80 on eBay, and it's practically the same feature set as the newer 4K Pro. I would definitely suggest the used market when looking for niche products like this, and you won't be missing out on much unless you actually have like a 4K 360Hz monitor. Finally, it's time for the part that everyone actually pays attention to, the graphics card. For this build, I'm going with the RTX 5070, and while it might not be the biggest, baddest card out there right now, I got it for a crazy deal, and it's more than powerful enough for what I do. And just like that, the build is complete. But first, if you didn't know this already, it's customary to plug your build into a monitor and make sure that it boots before you start putting all the panels back on and closing up your PC. Trust me, you don't want to have to disassemble the whole thing again if it doesn't boot. With the BIOS configured and Windows installed, it was time to clean this build up and put the case back together. I removed the rest of the plastic peels, gave it a quick bit of cable management, nothing fancy, but just enough to make sure the case closed easily, and put all the panels back on while trying to avoid any extra fingerprints. I am super happy with how this PC turned out, and I hope I get to bring you guys another build video soon. But let's not forget about the most important part of this video, the price. Okay, so in total, this build costed me just over $2,000. Now this is by no means a budget build, but for whatever your budget is and whatever parts you're looking for, I want to share with you guys my tips for hunting down the best deals and also some alternative options for parts that I'll link in the description. Now, many of these parts I did get for just plain MSRP, but for those parts, they're simply a good price right now. A 1000 watt PSU for $100 is not bad. And at $10 a piece for these fans, that's also pretty great. But if you want to save a little money, you could always opt for some simpler fans or larger bulk packs of fans like these. Though keep in mind you might need a controller if your fans don't daisy chain. There are also a lot of really good alternatives for AIO coolers, and PC cases like this similarly styled Musetex case. As for the graphics card, I picked this one up for a great price because it was open box. Retailers like Amazon and Best Buy have great open box offers that usually show up in pretty much new condition. I also got my motherboard for almost half price buying this way, and it was in a sealed box with all of the accessories. So I highly recommend searching through Amazon or your preferred retailer's open box options to find a good deal, as they do change all the time. As for the part you're all actually wondering about, the RAM. Right now, it seems almost impossible to buy your preferred RAM separately for a good price, but you can buy it as a bundled deal with your choice of processor from most retailers. I got my 9850X3D in a bundled deal on Newegg for $650, pricing the cost of this RAM at just $150 for 32 gigabytes. These deals are changing every day on Newegg, but you can also find bundles like this at Micro Center, on eBay, and sometimes on Amazon as well. These are the deals you need to be searching for if you want to avoid the crazy overpricing on RAM right now. And I'll link the best deals I can find in the description, but there's no guarantee they'll be available for long. If you have any SSDs you can reuse right now, I'd highly recommend doing so like I did. But if you don't have an SSD right now, the best deals I've seen are on the Newegg weekend deals, Amazon open box, or just buying used on eBay. This was a bit of a different video for me, as it's not just a review, but I had a ton of fun with it and I'm super happy with the results. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.